getting ready to make soap. I got all my ingredients out. I'm going to show you those. So I got all the things I need here that I need for soap making. I try and get all my ingredients out before I start so that I have a chance, I don't forget something. Got my recipe right here open so I know what I'm after. I've got my sodium hydroxide, which I'm actually kind of low on. So I know I can make at least one batch. I'm hoping I can get 2 more batches out of that. I've got my water already measured out. I have 1 pound and 3 ounces. And of course, in case you didn't know, you'll need a scale. And what you do is you set your jar on your scale, wait till it measures that, and then tare so it zeroes out, then add your water so you know how much actually water you have in there and not your water and your jar. I've got avocado oil, which I'm going to use in my recipe. Calls for jojoba oil right here. I'm going to use avocado oil instead of jojoba oil. So I've got my olive oil, I've got my avocado oil, I've got palm kernel oil, I've got my cacao butter, and I've got, there's one more. Oh, I'm missing one. It's over here. My coconut oil. I knew I was missing something. So I've got my coconut oil. And you know, the most of what I'm using is this coconut oil and the olive oil. It's actually really cheap. They're not super expensive. So, and you know, you can get even organic versions of this without going overboard. So it's pretty easy to start making, like pretty much like 90% organic. Like this one's organic, this one's organic. My avocado oil it says non-GMO. It doesn't say organic, but my olive oil, all the rest of it's kind of pretty much organic. So not all of it, but a good chunk of it. So that's a pretty good start. I've got, what I'm going to make is a pumpkin spice marbled soap. So I'm not going to put any exfoliants in, like oatmeal or something. I'm going to use cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg. I happen to have several of these, so I don't mind using some for my scent. And then I'm going to use cinnamon, and I'm going to marble a small portion of my batch with the cinnamon in it to get a nice marbled effect and that pretty pumpkin spice smell. Okay, so then the next thing is I want to melt my oils in a big pot. But pot I can also stir in. I don't love using my enamel cookware for this. I don't know if it's just because it's an expensive pot or because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it. But just because we're mixing it up, this steel pot's perfect for this. It's got a nice deep belly. It's going to be bigger than the oils I need, but by the time I'm done stirring, I'll have wanted all this room. So don't use too small of a pot. This is my preference for using for soap. This, as in my experience, has been the fastest way to get a trace. It mixes it up really well. I love it. You could also use a hand mixer or a mixer. That does do it, but it can take a really long time, and I don't prefer doing that anymore. You can also mix it by hand, which I really don't prefer. And then these are the molds that Ashley gave me. I really like these. They're so pretty. So, or you could use like a shoebox, like a clear shoebox, or if you really don't have anything to use, go get one of those post office boxes that are like a medium box, and that's just about the right size for soap. Right. So first, what I want to do is I want to get my water lye mixture made up, because that, in case you didn't know, creates a chemical reaction that is extremely hot. It'll go up to like 180 degrees, and we need our soap mixture to be about 100 degrees. So I'm going to use a small jar. I want it to be dry because I don't want water to get into this. As soon as water reacts with that lye, it starts to react. So I'm going to tare my cup on my scale, and then just start pouring in some of my lye. Oh, and then I'm already doing it wrong because I want grams. It's more precise than ounces. I can really hone in. So if your scale goes to grams, that's what you want. I want 187.5. I'm not gonna get 187.5, but we're gonna get close. So let's go. See if I can get this in the picture. Okay, so it's going to go pretty quick. You won't realize how fast you hit 187. You can use gloves for this. You do not feel like you have to do this without gloves. And always have, whether you use gloves or not, have some white distilled vinegar nearby. 187. That's good enough for me. I'm pretty content with that. See, it went from 187 to 188, bounced there. That's 187 and a half, I'm pretty sure. All right, so I use wooden spoons that I've already used before because it eats up the finish and it's no good after that. We're just gonna pour in gently and carefully. Kind of stir as we go. You always want to pour the lye into the water because you can control how much you're reacting with at that point. It's like pouring the baking soda into the vinegar instead of the other way around. You can cause an explosion if you pour the water into the lye. It's like this cup for some reason wasn't as dry as I thought it was. Some moisture on the outside. I will wash this really well. I will wash it in vinegar just to make sure I've counteracted all of that acidity. And then we'll just stir this until it's all dissolved. All right, all dissolved. There's like a little floater in here. I don't know, it was like a little stick that was in there. If I can fish it out, great. If not, I don't really worry about it. Like, I've used sticks from outside before to stir my lye, and there's some little bits maybe. I don't really worry about it. I'm certainly not gonna go fishing for it with my fingers. I've also had instances where I've had like white scummy floating on the top, and all that tells me is that there was oil in the cup before I started. You want to use something like glass. You don't want to use metal. You'll have a pretty nasty reaction. And you don't want to use plastic because it can melt through the plastic. So use something like glass because it's going to heat up and it is caustic. So my room temperature water is now hot to the touch. Like, I don't want to hold my hand on this. It's really hot. So it's really cool. That's chemistry for you. So we're going to let this sit here. Oops, the light went off. So we're going to let that sit outside and cool down because our goal at this point is to have our oils and our lye mixture at the same temperature, and that is going to take the longest amount of time to cool down. You can measure your oils a couple different ways. You can measure them by tearing your pot and measuring them directly into your pot, or if your scale can't handle the weight of the pot and your oils, then what I would do is I would have my pot on the side, use a bowl, tear that, and pour in like that. You can also measure your liquid oils with a fluid measuring cup. You do not have to have, you don't have to use it by weight. Fluid ounces will be enough. So my 8-ounce bag of cocoa butter was only 7.8 ounces, but you know, who's counting? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer my oils over to the stove. Now I melt all my hard oils and butters together for a little while, and then after those are melted, I'll add my liquid oils like avocado and olive. That way I'm not heating up everything too much. I can bring the temperature down a little bit if I need to. And it takes a while to, if I heat them all up at the same time, to bring them down to the same temperature. So let's get started. And here's my avocado oil, 8 ounces of that. Let's see if I measured. That's interesting. So I've always assumed that measuring fluidly would be enough. Please stop, boys. And it's not quite as much as I want, so I'm going to add the extra to get to the 8. Yeah, that's really close. So, just a minute, buddy. So I know, like, I mean, people are like, have all these polished videos, but you know, our life is crazy and messy, and I have kids around me all the time, whether they're whining or happy. Hey buddy, say hi. He just woke up from his nap. Is that hot? Yeah, you shouldn't touch that. You say hi? You say hi? Boy, it's just grumpy time, I guess. So, by adding my oils, I didn't have to heat it up anymore. I was able to bring the temperature down a little bit. I'm going to check the temperatures here in a second, but at this point, it's just a waiting game. Alright, so my oils and my lye are 110 degrees. My recipe says 100. as long as it's between 90 and 110 degrees, and more importantly, as long as they match each other and within 10 degrees of each other, that's the time to mix it.
It is. I'm just in this video because I want to help. I'm not supposed to be.
Well, then how about you help me by coming and pouring? Okay?
What? Why?
Coming and pouring the lye. Come here.
I don't want to burn myself.
You're not going to burn yourself. You just come touch it. I mean, don't touch it. Just come pour it. So, I've got my oil mixture. It's 110 degrees. I've got my lye mixture. That's 110 degrees. It's not hot. It's warm. So, you're going to come over here and you're going to pour it in gently. Would you rather do this part?
I got the lye part.
Okay, so just gently. I'm going to try and take a video. Nope, over. There we go. Gently pour it in a little bit at a time. Put that right in the sink. And fill up full of water over and over again. Put that in the sink. I don't really want to stop mixing too much, but you can see already how the oils have changed. So immediately the saponification process starts. The purpose of the stirring is to make sure that all of the lye, just set it down and keep filling it with water. Stop, set it in the sink and overflow it with water. Yep, just keep filling it with water. There we go. The point of this process is to completely make sure that the lye and the soap have the lye and the fat have completely saponified, have completely stirred together. So it's going to be noisy, but I want you to see how it's going on. We're going to stir it until it gets to a trace, and I'll try and show you what a trace looks like. Just go ahead and keep the immersion blender on the bottom of the pan. Not yet. I've got that machine on. So I'm going to pause my video for a second. I'll show you what it looks like when it gets to a trace. But I'm going to keep stirring. It should only take me like 5 minutes. All right, I want to show you what is not quite a trace. So it's looking creamy and smooth. It looks nice right now. It's still really thin though, and I think it's because I did it a little warm because I'm not very patient. And so if you look at it, it's long drips, but it's still thin drips, okay? And the goal is to be able to see those drips on top of the soap before it falls in. So it's not quite a trace. I'm almost there. But trace. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. So it's nice and custard looking. You know, it's kind of thick. Not quite like a thick pudding, more like a custard. I can't think of what else to compare it to. But when I lift it up and pull it across, can you see the lines that are there? Like when I pull it through, you can see the line of where I drag it through just a little bit before it disappears. And that's what we're going for. So if I like lift and drifted some over the top, you kind of see it. And it's really hard to see in a video. I'm so sorry, guys. But like when I'm stirring this, I can see the line left from where I'm stirring. It's not just disappearing. So I can see the movement in here.
Mom, you're not even looking at the liquid.
I put in some variety of essential oils. So I've got like stuff like cinnamon, ginger. I put just a dash of cloves, a little bit of nutmeg. I think it smells all right. We'll see. But it certainly smells spicy. So Isaiah's going to put all of that in there. Okay, so Isaiah's going to pour the essential oils in. Go ahead, I'll stir. Suck that in there. Get it all through my soap. Okay, and here's where we're going to marble. So what I'm going to do is, I don't want this everywhere, and I actually won't use this for anything but soap again, because I don't know how clean I'll be able to get it, and I don't want to use that in food then and have, if nothing else, even if it was all cured, I still don't want soap in my food. Will you hold that, Isaiah, so it doesn't tip? Okay, and I'm going to set this here for a second. Let's not.
Okay.
I'm going to pour just a little bit of my soap into this jar because what I'm going to do is I'm going to marble. So I'm going to pour into my molds, which I've got ready here. I'm going to pour it about halfway full. So then I can pour that into my other mold, which is over here, which you can't see. There you go. Good job, bud. You're like a cameraman and a helper. You're like everything. Grandma Joni, can you give me a scraper?
Are you gonna use the rest in that one?
I'm gonna put everything in here because then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to color what I put in the batter bowl.
Oh yeah. Mom,
so that I can marble this soap.
Aren't you making like this super cool?
Well, I always make super cool soap, yeah.
But is this more like really cool?
Oh, so this is extra super cool?
I thought you were like making one that looked like that had all sorts of different colors.
No, it's just gonna have 2 colors. I can do multicolored soap, but I don't have very many colors. So now what we're gonna do is leave. Isaiah, can you grab the cinnamon there? Right there? And just pour a little bit in, okay? Go ahead. Okay, a little more than that. Be more generous. Just don't go gangbusters. Keep going. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, stop there. That's probably about a teaspoon. So, go ahead and give me a little more, Isaiah. Because I want enough in there to make a good dark brown color. Turn it and do the other side.
The other side has a big hole.
Yep, so don't...
Like, it doesn't even have a hole.
So don't pour, just put some in. Okay, that's good. That was probably more like 2 teaspoons, so we're going to try that.
Oh, you're talking to me or you? I'm not the part of the video.
It's not like a cocoa brown, it's a cinnamon brown. But it's a nice kind of earthy brown that we're getting here from the coloring of the cinnamon. That's alright. So I'll show you that. Oops. Sorry. I'm just going to show you the brown color that we're getting. Okay, you video for a second. Here, we're going to stop for a second.
Started.
Okay, so I'm just going to scrape this off a little bit so I can get as much of this as I can. Don't move that much, buddy. Okay.
Trying to back up.
I'm just going to set this over here and not get my boobie in the soap. Okay, so I'm just going to pour a little bit down the center of each one. And I could see that went nice and deep down in there just because my soap's a little thinner than maybe if I had had my soap a little cooler when I started. And now, since I've got a little extra, I'm just going to kind of go side to side. I just want to get a little extra in here. When we did marbled soap together, Angel, Sarah, Ashley, and I will tell you the one I thought got the best marbling was Sarah and Ashley. They used a shoebox. I think Angel and I were a little too afraid to mix our soap rather than marble our soap, so we just all kind of end up a big dirty brown. So I'm going to try and be a little braver today and really get a good marble in here. Let me grab my knife. I forgot to grab that. Now I'm just going to take my knife and I'm going to try and swirl inside. So I'm just going to I'm kind of doing a lifty, swoopy kind of thing. Ooh, I can feel it, Isaiah. I can feel it on my hands. Isaiah got a little bit of the soap on his hand, and I can feel it helping him out, getting some vinegar on there, that I can feel it on my hand now too. So he really did get his hand in there. So, almost like you were swirling brownies or something? Like putting peanut butter in brownies, Ashley? So I'm gonna do a stripe there and a stripe there, and I'm gonna hope for the best. Another stripe here, another stripe there. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some wax paper on top so that when I wrap my soap, it's not gonna end up in there. So I'll put parchment paper on top. I'll take a towel, I'll take a towel and I'll wrap it up, because what we wanna do is, what we want to do is we want to keep the a stable temperature on the soap. If it gets too cold too fast, it can separate. So I'll grab just whatever towel, wrap it up, and then I'll set it up on top of here, and I'll let it sit there for 3 days before I cut it. And then I'll chop it up. If I let it sit there for too much longer, which I won't lie, I have forgotten my soap to cut it for like a week. And still didn't manage to cut it, but the harder soap, this is definitely harder soap, this cocoa butter soap. So I want to catch it at that 3-day mark, cut it into my pieces I want, and then lay it out to cure for 4 to 6 weeks. That can be negotiable. If you really want to test to see if your soap is done curing, you lick your soap. If it tastes like a battery, like those 9-volt batteries, you know, when we were kids, we put the 9-volt batteries on our tongues and zing it a little bit. It'll taste, if there's still lye in that soap, it'll taste like that battery. It won't hurt you, but it's like, leave it for a little longer. Just because you don't want to be washing your hands with kind of uncured soap. So, happy soap making. Got parchment paper, I'm setting it on top. Here, take a look and see how pretty the marbling is turning out so far. I won't know what the marbling really turned out like until I cut it open. So, setting the parchment paper on top. So when you're videoing, try not to move and try and get back a good space. There you go. Stop whining, you're fine.
She has a towel that she's
and I'm trying to hold them together since I have the 2 molds. If I had just a shoebox, it'd be a little different. But I'm just trying to wrap it around like that so that it just stays warm. I know. Since my molds are 2 separate molds and I want them to stay together, I'm just going to leave it in this pan, and then I'm just going to put it up here on top of my cabinet.
Mom, why do you always put them high places?
So that
they don't fall or something?
So that no one messes with them. Whoa, here, let me see your stool. I don't want anyone messing with my soap. I want it to be even, which this is not. For some reason, there's things up here. So I want it to stay flat and even. I want it to stay in a stable temperature place, and I don't want anyone touching it. So I'll leave it up there for 3 days, and then I'll cut it.